What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mongols. I am Mike Sparks. Joining me is Josh Brokaw and Steve Mattias. The Hounds got their first win of the preseason, and we were there getting to see the guys in action for the first time in 2025. There is so much to talk about it, so let's go. Listen, I've made a lot of decisions in the past year, like related to the show, not related to the show. That song still to me is like one of the best decisions I've ever made. Every single, like I'll literally be walking through the house like it's maybe because I'm always messing with it, but it sticks in my head.
It's catchy. I can't help but just like bob my head as it's going, even though nobody sees it.
Right? Man, Josh, I know I just saw you yesterday. What's new with you, man?
Not much. Gearing up for Steel Army AGM and membership packages, and I'm decked out right now in merch. So we got our new membership scarf and our new tailgate exclusive t-shirts. So these won't be available on our website. They're just available at tailgates. It's you're laughing. What's up?
Well, no, when you say tailgate exclusive, I know what you mean by tailgate exclusive, but all I can think of is like rolling up to a parking lot and some dude really like pops down the tailgate of his truck and he's like, "You want some? This is what we got. This is what you got." And I know it's kind of like that. Like that's kind of what's happening.
I mean, it fell off the back of a truck.
Right.
It's a Honda Fit, but yeah, same idea.
Yeah, love it. Steve, how's it going?
Pretty good. Yeah, not much going on this weekend. I was hoping to get out and do some cross-country skiing, but the weather last week has not cooperated. So,
wait, but you're complaining because it got warm in the snow melted. So
right. So I couldn't go cross-country skiing, which was what the original plan was yesterday. So the friend that I was supposed to do that with came over in the evening. I think I talked about Bridgeside Market in Swickley a few weeks ago. So I got another thing for pizza. We had pizza and she's never seen Lord of the Rings. So but she also doesn't want to watch a 4-hour movie. So we're watching the extended editions in miniseries style. So 6 settings instead of 3. So we finished The Fellowship last night. So yeah.
I'm curious where do you well, this is probably not a conversation for this show, but like where you cut.
So for the first one, it's right at the end of when Frodo makes the decision to take the ring to Mordor. So basically the end of the Council of Elrond before they leave Rivendell. I found something on Reddit that I've got, and it's got good spots to mark it off. It kind of, I mean, they're very close to where the books actually have like the 2 sections in each. So it kind of fits anyway, right?
I want to have a hot take about this and be angry or something like that, but at the same time, all I'm thinking about is how sometimes I end up watching a whole movie on TikTok, like 30 seconds at a time, because it shows me clips. Usually it's a movie I've already seen, but it has definitely happened where I've been like, I pretty much watched this whole movie now on stupid TikTok. What the hell am I doing? So, yeah.
Definitely not parent of the year, but I watched Inglourious Bastards with the kids this weekend, and so much of that, right? Well, for the timing, I was like, "This is great." So much of the movie, they were just like, "Oh yeah, there's this scene," and I'm like, "Oh, where have you seen that?" And it's YouTube Shorts, and like they see the clips everywhere. So social media ruining movies. It was a fun movie. Like I felt weird, laughing at the times that I was laughing because I was like, this is actually really morbid, but it was enjoyable. So well, good. Good.
I didn't get to go yesterday. I was planning on it, but had a
let's talk about that.
Sync backed up, so I had to deal with that like right as I was ready to leave. So that was my other big part of my weekend, was unclogging the pipes and doing some plumbing work, but whatever. Old house.
See, now I'm stuck because I was trying to think of a good transition from like unclogging pipes to the Hounds winning 3-0 over Duquesne, and I just can't make that jump. So I'm not creative enough. Apologies. But yes, so the Hounds beat Duquesne at home 3-0. Josh and I were there. Liz was there. Drew was there. Peter was there. There were other people from the Steel Army there. It was a pretty decent turnout for the first game, and considering that they were calling for freezing rain. I actually left in the 60th minute. I know it was 60th because my youngest was giving me the death stare that he wanted to go home because he was cold. And I kept going, just 5 more minutes, just 5. And then Grubba came over and I was like, oh, good, this will buy me some more time. And then like we ended up leaving. But it was a fun game. I think there's a lot to see. I guess, Josh, any sort of initial impressions before? I think what we're going to do is turn this over to Steve since he wasn't there. Steve can sort of be the I don't know, the representative of people who didn't get a chance to go and ask all the questions that he wants to know about it. And we can sort of tell him what we saw. And then if there's anything that we think he missed or didn't ask about, we can share that as well. Do you have any initial thoughts before we turn it over to Steve?
Yeah, I mean, other than they look good, I'm glad Trialists got, moments to shine in this. Yeah. But overall, I just more of a vibe type thing. It's always nice to get to a preseason game because preseason is this special moment where, like, yes, I'm seeing the Hounds play, but it's also super chill, kind of goofy, not too much, like there's no concession stands for this one. They didn't have the pub open at all. It was literally just like showing up to a practice and just watching them play. And we always stand like right behind Bob because if you haven't had the opportunity to, go to a preseason game and just listen to Bob do his thing, it's really hard not to commentate live during the game and like call and response with him because you kind of want to, but you probably wouldn't appreciate it. So don't do that. But yeah, it's fun.
The one thing that I always I appreciate, it's fun when you can hear him so clearly giving such specific instruction to guys that there was one point that I turned to you and I was like, what he is describing, I don't know if that will ever happen again. But like in his mind, he's like, in this scenario where this guy moved here and this guy moved here and then he moved here and then this guy was open over here, what I want you to do is to drop and then do this thing over there. And I'm like, that may never happen again. But it was very important that he yelled that to whoever it was that was listening. And it was just like, okay, well, yeah. So, all right, Steve, what do you want to
know? So I guess, first off, who did we get to see that is under contract, and maybe some of the trialists that we know about that you guys got to see on the field?
Under contract,
or maybe who wasn't on the field that you would have wanted to see? Maybe that's a better way to ask it.
I mean, I guess we kind of saw everybody. Like they kind of split the teams up. So there wasn't this like first team, I think I had messaged you during the game. They clearly split the guys up. So it was a healthy mix of who I would assume to be starters and trialists. In terms of like guys that have recently been signed, we did get to see Charles All play in the first half. I think it was Max Broughton, who is the center back. He played alongside Suber in the first half. Okay. Looked okay. I mean, again, they're playing against Duquesne, so it's really hard to tell. There were a number of trialists out there that we still have no idea what their names are. At one point, that for the second goal, whoever the center forward was, Robbie just found himself in tons of space and put it in a beautiful cross. We were literally like 20 feet away. And whoever the center forward was just headed into the net. We thought it was Brigham Larson. It was not Brigham Larson. Like he came on later. So still a lot of new faces that we have no sense who they are. It's good to see the guys that we do know. They were all getting minutes as well. Berton was out there. Augie was out there. They started with Berton and Augie on the field at the same time. 2 new keepers. Neither Dick or Randolph were there. So Bushy, the theory of, well, there's 3 guys. I'm guessing that third guy is going to be the guy. Clearly not the case. Like they're still trying out some people. Josh, what did I miss?
Yeah, the one that we thought was I just forgot his name that we thought it was Hutchinson. We believe it was Hutchinson. He's the one that got the second goal.
Yeah, looked good.
He got the first goal.
Yeah.
So like a lot of this is pretty much just people checking faces off of, Duquesne and other college websites and trying to figure out who these players are. So we're pretty positive we kind of got a beat on most of the at least the forwards and Yoshi. We believe we know who that was. He was the third goal, another trialist. So 2 of the goals were trialists, which was nice to see.
Yeah, you sent a link about Yoshi. So the practice 2 weeks ago, I saw Yoshi flying around and Bob referring to him as Yoshi. And then I said I went and did a Google search and just couldn't find anybody that looked like him named Yoshi. Shocker. You dug up that you guys think is Yoshi Okawa, who is out of UNC Greensboro. He's originally from Tokyo, 5'7" midfielder. What kind of blew my mind was I was looking at his stats from last year. He played 16 games last year and he scored 8 goals and had 4 assists. So that's like that's more than a goal contribution every single game. And so for a guy who then scores in the preseason game against Duquesne and is kind of flying around, it will be very interesting to see if Yoshi makes this squad for sure.
Yeah. So you had mentioned, Mike, yesterday that Randolph and Dick weren't there. Are we concerned that they're not putting the keepers that are expected to be playing the most minutes at this stage in early in the preseason?
I mean, for me, Josh, you can share your thoughts. For me, I think the longer this continues, the more concerned I'll be. I feel like we're still early days in the preseason. The team is still sharing out photos of training during the week, and it's clear that Dick and Randolph are there. I was kind of surprised they didn't go up to watch the game. I didn't see them in the stands or anything. Maybe they were up in the box with this, but they have Indy on Wednesday this week, and then they have Crew 2 back at home next Sunday. If we don't see them feature in either of those games, I'm going to start to get a little bit worried about what's going on. I don't know. Josh, how are you feel?
I don't feel that way. I feel more like this is just Bob trying to solidify who he's going to sign for a third keeper. So it's pretty much just, okay, we're trying to get that third keeper locked down. I don't think I'm too worried about Dick not getting enough time in net to be good for the start of the season. I think he's going to be okay, even if he is only, playing during practices and that kind of stuff. I don't feel like, being game fit for a keeper is the same as being game fit for a player who's constantly running around. It's like, oh, you got to stand there for 80% of the time, 20% of the time you're doing something, as far as having to worry about goals and that kind of stuff. So I don't think they need to be that much, battle hardened before the season starts.
I think my one counter to that, and I don't disagree with you, as we get closer to the season starting and as we start to see more of a starting 11 emerge, we've talked about the relationship between the keeper and the center backs and the communication. And I want to make sure that we're really flexing that muscle a little bit and working that a little bit before the season starts. I agree with everything else you said.
My question originates is thrilled to see 7 preseason games, but it almost feels like Bob's waiting to put out some of the guys until later, which almost undermines what we've talked about, we've hoped to see. I mean, you and Sean talked about this. I think that's where this first came up, was a little bit different of a formation going into this year. And it sounds like that was the case. So tell me a little bit about what you saw with the formation, what was different, what was working, what questions or critiques you have about it.
So I was curious about this as well, because for those who missed it, go listen to the last episode. We did a pregame episode with Sean Suber. If you don't follow us on Substack, go over to Substack, because at least for now, we just have it over there. There's a 1-minute rapid fire question thing that I did with him, where I literally have 30 questions. I don't even know what I'm going to ask him. I shuffle them up and then ask them real quick to see how many I can get through. And it was a lot of fun. Anyway, during that conversation, Sean was like, oh, we're going with a back 4 this year, which is new. And so I was like, at the time, I was like, okay, great. And then I'm like, what do you mean new? We've always played a back 4. What are you talking about? But in my mind, I was like, clearly there is something new, because Sean wouldn't have said that. He wouldn't have acknowledged that we're doing something different unless they're actively trying to do something different. So it looked like, at least first half, second half, that we were rolling out a 4-2-3-1, and it was a very clear 3-1. And it didn't seem to be the case where you had the wingers necessarily bombing as high up. We're kind of relying on the two outside guys on that 3 to provide the width a little bit more. I say this, but then there were still times that like Etu and Robbie would kind of overlap a little bit. But once we realized that they weren't bombing as far up the field, then I started to think about like, well, okay, then what does that mean for Etu? Do you play Etu as a wingback, or do you play him as like the outside of a 3, like attacking midfield? How does that work? And we clearly had him at left back. So what seemed to be happening was it was kind of a flat 4 with the wingbacks pushing up a little bit, but especially when we would regain possession in our half, it would transform into almost a back 3 with Jackson Walty dropping in as a center back, like clearly dropping in as a center back, like the furthest guy back. And then the 2 center backs would splay out wide and we would distribute that way. So I don't know. Like the biggest question for me, and Josh, you and I were talking about this a little bit, I'm interested in your thoughts, was if it's a very clear 4-2-3-1, Augie's obviously going to play up top. Bertan is going to play off the right. We don't know who's going to play off the left. I was like, maybe Etu. We'll see. There were a couple of guys. Maybe it's somebody like Yoshi. I don't know. That number 10 spot is, I would guess, Robbie Mertz. But then now you have 2 holding midfielders, which to start the game was Sample and Walty. It's very clear that we want Walty to kind of drop back. So now you're in a situation where, like, where do you play DG? Like, I think we'd love for DG to play as that 10, but then what do you do with Robbie? We're now in this weird thing where if you only have 3 midfielders and 2 of them are holding, we know that 3 of those guys can thread a really good ball. But, like, it feels like somebody's going to miss out. Especially with, and you know, we haven't even talked about Charles All yet, but like he was one that I mentioned at practice. I could see him flying around. He started as the number 10 in this game and almost scored the first goal. He took the shot that then like banked off the keeper and came right to Augie, and Augie finished it. So like he was definitely dictating the offense for us. He's going to be a good player. So we might be in a situation where we have a lot of really good attacking midfielders, and just how do they get on the field?
It's a good problem to have, but it definitely did feel like there was moments during the game as a whole where Augie felt like he was kind of on an island and not getting service. I know there was some issues where I didn't feel like O'Toole was like passing it forward to him. Like he was looking for that through ball. He was looking for someone to like get it to him, and it was just not happening. So it did kind of feel like Augie was kind of just there, but not doing much during the game. Even his goal, like Mike was just saying, felt kind of like a fluky. It just passed or hit off the keeper, and Augie was there to clean it up. So it wasn't like, you know, some grand finish by him. It was just more like he was where he needed to be to scoop it up and finish it off.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. I mean, this was one game, right? Yeah, we're you guys are, you know, you'll be at the game on Sunday to see Crew 2, get a better sense of this. But it feels like we have a lot of attacking options. It feels like if we're going with this back 4, where you have Walty dropping in as like a third center back at times, it almost feels like this team is built not necessarily to strike quickly, but to strike as a team. Like you kind of move everybody up together, which we've talked about. It's great. Get bodies in the box, all of that. I'm interested to see if that sort of system suits Augie's skill set well. I don't know how much, like if you think back to Deekwa, a lot of Deekwa's goals came from counterattacks. Like he kind of made them happen on his own because we were kind of bunkered. If you have Jackson Walty starting the attack as a center back, he's not going direct over the top to Augie. Like it's going to be you got to find 2 other players and build up. And so is that really going to afford Augie the space to be able to create something, or is it going to be a lot of these like junk goals like we saw yesterday? Their goals are goals, but it'll just be interesting to sort of see how it plays out.
But even if it is a lot of those junk goals, right? Like that's like you said, goals are goals. But what I heard you saying in that analysis was that he's in the right spot. Yeah. And I think that's something we've struggled with over many seasons, of having enough players in the box and players that can finish in front of goals and clean up things that oftentimes we don't get those second chances in the 18-yard box. So you guys also brought up Larson and All. So those are the two guys that out of college got the longer contracts. So I want to hear what you saw from those guys, because we're going to be seeing them for a couple seasons. So the good, the bad, the potential.
Like, to me, All is currently like Danny Griffin light. Like, but when I say light, I mean like nipping at his heels. Like, to be right out of college, dude was everywhere, generating a lot of stuff. At one point, we got a set piece, and he lined up with now I'm forgetting who it was. He lined up with somebody else, like he was going to take it. And I was like considering the depth of talent on this team, to be like, yeah, he didn't take it. Whoever the other person was there, so it might have been Aiden O'Toole, but it sort of spoke wonders. So I think he's going to be one to watch out for the next like few years. Josh, I'm curious. Brigham Larson is a unit. Like, he's a big dude. I think you were like, Lily's got a type. I was like, yeah, he does. But he got on like right before I left, so I did not get to see much of him. Was there anything of interest there?
I wouldn't say there was anything stellar or outstanding that I can remember of his play, but it definitely is a unit and feels like he's going to be hard to handle. And yeah, it was nothing spectacular, but at the same time, at that moment in the game, I didn't really feel like he had to do much. We weren't really in the defensive area that much against Duquesne, where it felt like he had to do much of anything. So I'm hoping we see more when it comes to next week.
Yeah, he's built like a center back. I thought he was a center back.
I thought it was too.
And then Lily was like, Brigham, and like he jogged over, and I was like, wait, he's not that guy like on the field already? And he's not. So he's a tall dude. Yeah.
I'm getting him confused. Yeah, you're right. I thought he was the center back that I was thinking of. All right. Well, then obviously not much happened. So
yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for giving me a little bit of a rundown. I'm excited to get to preseason games, so I'm hoping I'll be there on Sunday.
Yeah, they're super chill and they're fun, and like the kids
they
like
always
it
are
too, because it's like you literally can just walk anywhere. And the one video that I got just by like hanging my phone off the side of the sideboards on the field has over 2,000 views on Instagram. I'm like, where are you people? Like, come listen to the show, watch the show, be part of the conversation. So yeah, I think everybody's really excited for things to get started. Otherwise, good turnout. Yeah, 3-0 over Duquesne. It's good to see that we didn't really struggle them. There was a moment where Robbie got clipped in the ankle and he was down, and they called out the medic, but he continued to play, so it wasn't too serious. So that's good. But yeah, hopefully it all continues. As we said, there's a game on Wednesday against Indy, where they're going to Indy, and then you guys will see them against Crew 2 next weekend, and hopefully we just keep progressing. So yeah, Josh, I guess any news before we sort of move on? Next weekend, the game is at 3:30 on Sunday at Highmark. The AGM is before that, arrival at 1:30. Anything about the AGM that you want to / need to share?
Yeah, a little bit here. So we have 2 positions opened up, and we have, I think, 4 nominations, maybe 3, probably 4. I don't know if everyone's accepted their nomination yet, but so we do have a bit of a contest going on, and we'll either, if you haven't got a dispatch yet, or there should be a dispatch coming out where it has more information about all the nominees. It's going to be the member reps positions that are opened up. We've also expanded the board this year to be 12 people. So that way we have a little bit more coverage for the Riveters, because we want to make sure that we're giving them, as much attention as possible. So we didn't want to have the board be the same size as it was before the Rivers joined. And yeah, it should be a good time. So we'll have memberships available to purchase or pick up if you've already pre-ordered it. Also probably have the shirts there as well, the one I'm wearing right now. And
nice.
Yeah,
cool. It's not a tailgate though.
Yeah.
Listen, in person only is what I mean. Okay. We're not putting it on the website. You have to actually be at a game or at an event to get the shirt.
Fair enough. Josh, there was a question that you and I had yesterday that I know Steve is very curious about as well. And so that question is, what's going on with Kenny Forbes? So Kenny was there. At one point, I thought he was warming up with like the second half guys. And then the next thing we know, the second half guys are warming up and Kenny's got his down jacket on and he's putting cones down and he's telling guys where to go for drills and stuff. So Josh, fill in the details. We have some insider information here about what's going on with Kenny.
So yeah, I did not realize, which I think I actually did know this looking off the spreadsheets that Shu from the Steel Army supplies and all that kind of stuff, is that he was technically on a 3-year contract and this is his 3rd year on that contract. So there was rumors that he was retiring at, this season was going to, like, last season was his last season. He was going to announce it this season and actually not be a player, but he's under contract for 1 more year. So not sure he realized that even. I do wonder sometimes. But
he's not used to Bob signing players that long, so he just assumed.
So yeah, he's under contract still. This will be his last year under contract. I do suspect that we're going to see him become more of that clipboard Kenny that we always talked about last year. Maybe for his final under contract year. But we'll see. I could also totally believe that, depending on what we need, and Bob knows he can rely on him getting time to play. So, yeah, 1 more year under contract.
I will say the sense that we get is that there is no like impending announcement. I would not be surprised if we get part of the way through the season and they decide to make an announcement. But at least at this point, there has been no communication that an announcement is forthcoming. So I think everyone's kind of playing this by ear. That said, couple everything that I just said about this pregame about Charles All and what do you do with Griffin and what do you do with we're in a situation where it feels like from a midfield standpoint, we're feeling pretty good. I should save this clip because I know in like 4 months we're going to be like, what happened to we have no players? Nobody's any good. But it was for the second half crew, Kenny was leading them through drills the way that Rob Vincent leads guys through drills. This was not just a like messing around. He was the running the drills, and he was not running the drill with them. He was dictating like and giving people pointers and stuff. So I think Josh is right. I think clipboard Kenny might be arriving.
I mean, I love that idea, and I hope that long term the organization decides to increase the number of assistant coach spots to have Rob and Kenny there, because I think just like having guys like that both around young incoming players that have gone through it with this organization, and Kenny doing it for so long with Bob is just invaluable to their development. And it gives Bob such an opportunity to focus on other things and not micromanage all of the day-to-day training stuff. But I think it makes the team better. So I really hope that that's where this is headed, that we see both of those guys as assistants.
We were laughing because we didn't even realize it. We were about 10 minutes into the second half before Lily walked out of the locker room. So like Rob was like leading the team throughout the second half. We were like, oh, look, there's Bob. Bob was still talking to the guys who played in the first half and like giving them pointers and stuff. And then just
so I don't want to read anything into that other than the fact that Bob wasn't done talking and Rob had to get the other guys out there because
it was fine.
They were on a timetable.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily Bob trusting Rob to manage anything. It's Bob not being done talking.
But I get the sense that like Bob is a bit of a creature of habit, and he would know like time's up, like get out of the locker room and like.
Yeah, but it's a preseason game, and he's seeing it like, okay, you just played the first game. Now these guys are playing the second game, so I'm going to talk to you and give you my post game chat.
Exactly. But we've never seen him do that in the past. Yeah. I've never seen him do that in the past. So there is something to be said about that. Like the fact that he trusted them to do that. So I do like that.
Yeah.
So that's the latest on Kenny. I know we were talking about how like the Steel Army has plans for when he retires, and there's nobody knows anything. So like that's kind of where it's at. But we'll see if that also progresses, because he didn't play. Did he play yesterday? I don't think he played yesterday. So like I would assume he would have to get some minutes in the preseason if the intention is for him to play. So we'll see. Guys, the other big news was that the team released the promo schedule, which this is always a fun time for us to kind of look at what you can expect. Lots of fireworks, lots of like dollar beer. Josh, anything in particular that kind of jumps out at you? There's a couple that I like. You're welcome to steal them, but like, is there anything that jumped out at you?
I mean, 4th of July game coming back. So like that's not really part of this necessarily, because it is kind of like they don't have to do anything special. They just have to show up, and there's fireworks supplied for them. So it doesn't count as, I think, part of the promotion, but having that back is a big deal. Trying not to steal any of the ones you want to talk about. No, I got nothing else. Okay.
All right.
The Mertz bobblehead. That's on your list. It's also on my list. I love the bobbleheads. I love having like little things I can put up on the shelf or at my office for the Hounds, because that's kind of something you think of for other professional leagues, and we hadn't really gotten yet for the Hounds until recently. So yeah, a Mertz bobblehead, that should be hilarious. Can't wait for his family to be making the jokes and everything like that. Like, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, I cannot wait to talk to him about that, because of all of the players, I can see him being like, this is so ridiculous. Like, be so embarrassed to have a bobblehead of himself. It's like, great, you guys picked just the right one. Like, some guys would love it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Steve, how about you?
The giveaways. I mean, all the other stuff is fun for other people. I don't really care about celebrities, whatever level they are. I don't care about fireworks so much, but
air quotes, whatever level they are. We'll get into that in a second. But yes.
You took the bait. But no, I mean, 2, I think, awesome giveaways this year. So, 3 actually, I think. I'm looking forward to all 3 of them. Yeah, the bobblehead, the Golden Glove, and the coasters. So
here's the thing. If you actually go to their website, I don't think that they mention anywhere the bobblehead, the Golden Glove, or the coasters. Like, that came through the initial email when it was like, hey, we're announcing promo schedule. I went and looked, and I was like, why don't I see this? So the Eric Dick Golden Glove giveaway is actually an oven mitt designed to look like a goalkeeper glove that is going to be signed by Eric Dick, which is freaking awesome. I don't know who had that idea, but I'm like, it's an oven mitt that looks like a keeper glove that Dick signed. Like,
where was this at? I missed this.
Yeah. So when they initially announced the promo schedule last week, there was an email that went out where it was like, Hounds announced the promo schedule. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I went to actually look at the website today to be like, oh, did I get all the dates? And I was like, this doesn't say anything about the Robbie Mertz bobblehead. Did they just not decide to do that? And I went back through my email and found the email where it also talked about the bobblehead. So
I think that same email, it is posted under the press releases on the website, but it's not on the calendar.
Yeah. So, Josh, are you now excited about an oven mitt that looks like a goalie glove?
I'm just baffled. I had no idea. I'm like, I read that and I thought it was like we were spitballing ideas what it could be.
No,
and I was like, well, that's a silly idea.
We did not come up with that.
Okay, so it's an oven mitt, a golden oven mitt.
Yes.
This is the quote: a handy take-home oven mitt designed in the style of a goalkeeper glove, signed by the reigning championship goalkeeper of the year.
And that makes me wonder, like, is he actually going to sign them, or is it?
That's what I was going to say. How many does he have to sign?
Because how many do they typically give away, like for the bobbleheads?
It's like last year it was like 500 or something like that. It was something stupid small. I hope they up that because it was way too little. So I'm hoping it's a little bit more than that. But I could even see like 1,000 or like something like that. that's a lot of things to sign, but hey,
I really want a friggin' oven mitt now, man. Like, just to like have it hanging on my wall and use it. And, like,
Randolph's gonna get time because Dick just got carpal tunnel.
I hope he paces himself signing these things.
That's right, yeah.
Man.
The other giveaway that I was like, that's interesting. So on June 7th against Detroit, there's going to be a limited edition Highmark Stadium modeled coaster set.
Yeah.
Now I'm like,
no idea what this looks like, but I want to see it.
But hold on. I'm like, that sounds really cool. But I'm like, you're doing it against Detroit. You have the potential of giving Detroit fans little discs that are easily chuckable. And I'm like, this could end badly, maybe? Like, if it was a different crowd or if it was a different team, I wouldn't be as concerned. We got to think
they're going to come in early. I mean, like, if I'm a Detroit supporter, I'm not trying to get into the stadium as early as possible.
To get a Highmark coaster set?
Yeah, like I'm tailgating with my friends beforehand. Yeah. So I don't think they're going to be part of the giveaway. I think it's fine. Even for the gag, like I don't think, going into the stadium early would be worth it to a Detroit fan.
That's fair. Steve, you mentioned like celebrities at whatever level they are. There's 3 celebrities they announced. One is from Dance Moms. I don't know who that is, so apologies if you love Dance Moms. Efren Ramirez, which if you're like, who is that? It's Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite. When I told my kids that, they were like, we have to go. So clearly they hit a demographic. And I'm trying to think of like who on the Hounds team would be our Pedro? Like if you had like a vote for somebody.
I mean, it's not Pedro.
Oh, that's true.
No, Pablo, not Pedro. Never mind. It's Pablo.
It could be Pablo. It could be like vote for Pablo. I don't know. But yes, so Efren Ramirez will be there from the point. And then Jake the Snake Roberts from like old school wrestling.
WWF.
Like I had like little like thumb wrestlers growing up. That's the extent of my wrestling, but I know who Jake the Snake Roberts is. So like another good get. But overall, if you were to like grade the promotional schedule this year, A, B, C, D, F, Josh, what do you give it?
I think I was more excited last year for the giveaways, at least. Like the little was last year the stadium or was that the year before?
It was 2 years ago.
I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
I think I'm getting I'm combining last year and the year before. Yeah. So I think it's about the same as last year. Like, I don't think there's anything spectacular. I love the bobblehead, so that automatically bumps it up a grade in my book. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the oven mitt. Don't know how I feel about it yet.
I love the idea.
It's funny. It's funny.
Will I ever use it in my oven? Probably not, but I want one.
I will race home and use it immediately.
Like, I have like a display of all the giveaway stuff behind me. Yeah. And like, I'm just imagining, like, do I have to get a freaking like model hand thing to put an oven mitt on now?
Yes.
Like,
go to IKEA, get one of those like bendable drawing hands and just stick the oven mitt on it.
I already have
what's at IKEA that you always have to adjust because someone always has made it so the middle finger is sticking up?
Yeah. I already have that.
They zip tie that one down now.
Yeah. I have a power glove from Nintendo that I have one of those model hands for. So maybe I'll swap it out for the oven mitts. We'll see. Huh.
But you didn't give me a grade. A, B, C, D, E, F.
B. I think it's fine. I think it's above average, especially for the Hounds. Yeah. But I'm not like super excited for anything in particular other than perhaps the Mertz bobblehead.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, I give it a B. I think there's fun things that I think what it does really well is it targets different groups throughout the season, and that gives it an above average for me. That not everything hits for me at all, right? But it's not just about me, right? It's about getting more fans in and getting other people to come and getting them hooked to want to come to more games. So I think they're doing things to do that, and I like it.
I feel like the bar is set really high with this oven mitt. Like if it's not what I think it is, then like it's like a C for me. If this oven mitt is like what it is in my mind, I'm for years now, I'm going to be like, remember that year they gave us an oven mitt that looks like a goalie? Like it's going to be that. So I'll give it an A. If you ace the oven mitt, which is like one of the first things in the season, like boom, we are off to the races. This is going to be a great year.
So now what I really want to know is, did Jeff convince Bushy to use his company to manufacture these?
Yeah, we gotta ask Bushy. They're really just goalie gloves. They're not oven mitts. They just learned that the foam is like heat resistant. And Bushy's like, yeah, I got a bunch that fell off the back of a truck. Let's use those. Tailgate specials, yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So cool. So that's the promo schedule. As we said, you can go find the full schedule on the website. There's lots of different things.
Yeah.
Family Fest is back. There are bands that play at halftime, fireworks galore, just lots and lots of different things going on. It doesn't look like the Superstars are back. It doesn't look like the juggling guy is back. So trying some new stuff, but it should be fun. It should be a lot of fun.
I was a little bit disappointed the Superstars were coming back, but to be honest, last season wasn't the greatest.
Yeah,
I think it's because they did the same shtick they did the season before that, and so like it was funny the first time, but then when they did the exact same stuff the second time, I'm okay if they're not back.
Yeah. Yep. Guys, last thing, and then we'll get out of here. Just wanted to comment. So we've talked about how we're over on Substack. Peter is over there writing articles every week. This past week, his article was all about Station Square and how Station Square is bankrupt, and sort of hearing through the grapevine that there is a Boston company that might be interested in purchasing it. And it's very similar to what happened with the Fenway Group in Boston, who also own part of Liverpool, who also own part of the Penguins. And so he kind of speculates about what could not happen maybe at Station Square. I guess, Steve, any thoughts about sort of Station Square? And I know there's a broader conversation that we will have here at some point about some speculation about a first tier USL and how that could potentially be part of the reason why the Hounds are trying to expand to 15 is because that would be the minimum to we've said in the past that, okay, we're just doing this. We've said in the past that the reason why it's 15,000 is because as it's written right now within the American rules, to be a first division club, you have to have at least 15,000 seats in your stadium. At that time, we speculated, well, does this mean that the Riverhounds are going to try to jump to MLS? What does that mean? Well, now we're kind of hearing rumors that the USL might be trying to position itself to create a first division as well, which would put the Hounds in a good spot if they have 15,000. And there's other teams that are currently also expanding to 15,000. That coupled with thoughts on Station Square, I'm not even going to ask a question. I'm just going to say those two things, and then you tell me what's on your mind, Steve. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that there's a first division USL. If there is, I think the Hounds are a prime candidate for it. I think that's a lot of fun. Station Square is one of those places that, other than the Hounds, I don't see much else that I ever want to go there. I mean, I've done things there. I've gone to eat there a few times. So I'd like to see whatever happens with it be something that's a bit more mixed use, a bit more not destination for 30-minute away suburbs to feel like they're coming into the city, but aren't actually in an environment that's the part of downtown or one of the other neighborhoods. Because it's just like an outdoor mall in a lot of ways. I want to see it be something really different and something that benefits the area, that pulls people in from Mount Washington more, pulls people from downtown and other neighborhoods, not just big chains everywhere. So, yeah, and I think there's a lot of opportunities with that then for there to be things that benefit the Hounds and for the Hounds to benefit what could end up there. But I am not a developer and I don't know what those look like.
Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, first off, there was, a lot of people kind of like, not rumors, but just like, oh, what if Tuffy were to buy Station Square? Like that, it's too big of a purchase. Like it's not something that I don't think Tuffy could purchase. So I wouldn't see that happening and then them turning that area into like a new stadium. Something that could happen though, like maybe a this group comes in or another group comes in and they do a partnership thing or like a kind of like a contract with the Hounds where they will build a bigger stadium, a mixed use stadium, and the Hounds will be a part of that. So if that happens, it would have to kind of be the right moment because the Hounds are currently gearing up to expand their stadium. So like it would be kind of silly for them to expand their stadium and then in the middle of doing that, a new stadium gets built. So that means the old stadium, Highmark goes away. So that doesn't work out timeline wise, or like it would be a lot of wasted money basically.
Yeah.
So that worries me a little bit about that idea. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think instead what we're going to see is this become, if it does get bought by a developer, they could actually turn it into something a little bit more like a shopping district type of feel, probably condos as well, because that's what Pittsburgh's doing right now, is building a lot of condos around downtown. I work in the South Side, in the Strip. I mean, not South Side, in the Strip, and that's what you're seeing a lot of right now. Is like just everything's turning into condos there. Because, and that's nice because that means more people are actually living near downtown instead of living a little bit farther out. So you are seeing a lot more shops coming in as well. So that's what I think is going to happen with it. Is if anything, like my biggest worry is that it continues to be kind of dead and nothing happening down there. It helps the Hounds out a lot if there is cool stuff to do near the stadium. And right now there's not. So hopefully they get that, happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you look at sort of any club, if you look at new teams within MLS, you look at new teams within USL, you look at new teams in Europe, I should say new teams in Europe, teams that are building new stadiums in Europe specifically, you have more new teams in MLS. It's always a like mixed use facility. They're developing multiple blocks. It's not just putting in a stadium, because there's a massive advantage to it's a lot of what Jeff does, right? Like literally when we were at the game, there were blue lines on the field. My kids were like, what are those blue lines for? I'm like, it's lacrosse. And they're like, well, why do people play lacrosse here? I said, because they literally have an event here almost every single day, sometimes twice a day, because there's a lot of money in that. And so I totally get it. So I think my one concern, and I'm sure that Jeff and Tuffy are kind of staying on top of this, is a lot of times when you see these mixed use facilities, it's one ownership group coming in being like, we got the stadium, we're building the hotels, we're building the attractions, and we're building all of this stuff. And it's all working together. And what I hope is that you don't have a group that comes in that's like, we're going to build all of this stuff. And like, we know that the stadium is there, but not like turn their back on the stadium, but like figure out a way to help out each other. So the stadium will help drive interest in what's being built, and what's being built can help drive interest in the stadium, and they collaborate in a way that is beneficial for both. So that's my hope, is that whatever happens, that's all taken into consideration. It would be lovely. I did talk to Kevin, which I mentioned him, and I realized if there's any new listeners, they have he hasn't been here for a year and a half. They don't know who that is. But when I mentioned, what did I mention? Oh, the stadium expansion and, potential to go D1. One of Kevin's first questions was like, do we know what Tuffy's finances are? Because there are certain rules within D1 that like ownership needs to be worth X number of dollars.
And not just ownership, primary owner needs to be worth so much money.
And so is the timing of this somewhat fortuitous in that maybe there is a partnership that can be struck so that is an issue? I don't know. There could be a lot of moving pieces here that things could look very different in a few years, not, just expanding threefold the stadium with standing. It could be a completely different experience. So,
so we got onto this because of Peter's article and took a lot of rabbit trails. But I want to say, we talked about this a little bit, I think a couple weeks ago, but just that Peter is writing different things that this obviously does impact the Hounds and is Hounds adjacent, but is not specific to the Hounds. And I like that a lot, right? Like I had a lot of fun reading it because it's the type of thing that I'm interested in about Station Square as it relates to the Hounds, but I'm not going to go and do all that research. So it's fun to see. if you haven't read it, you should go read it because it's interesting. And kudos to Peter for taking this on and going and doing the research for all these different various topics that, like we said, sometimes they're hot takes, sometimes they're not, but it gives us more things to think about and digest. And that's a lot of fun to me.
Yeah. Each week I can tell you, he comes to me with 2 to 3 ideas and I'm like, ooh, like each one I want to know more about. Nice. So like, it's difficult narrowing them down. But I think next week's is a banger too. So just brace yourself. Nice. And as we mentioned, if you are not following us over on Substack, I think it's mongols.substack.com. Josh, correct me if I'm wrong. But we did post a 1-minute lightning round interview fun thing that I did with Sean Super that's over there. So go check that out. One favor that I will ask anybody who has made it this far into the show, if you guys like this, if you like the conversations, share this with somebody. Or as Bill Gordon said, if you don't like someone, share this with them. Because honest to goodness, the more people that we have that are active on Substack, that are active with all the things that we're doing, the more the conversation grows, the more fun it is, the more people you have to talk to about the Hounds. And so we really appreciate it. Like I said, I was shocked that, I literally just posted a little video from the preseason. And like I said, over 2,000 views on Instagram. I think almost 2,000 last I checked on TikTok. So there's people out there watching this stuff. So if you know someone that might be interested, share it, have them be part of the conversation. There you go. That's my request. Guys, anything else before we get out of here on this one?
I got nothing. Just it's just nice to watch, the Hounds again. So
it was very nice to be back in the stadium, to like see people, like touch people, like not in a weird way, but like to reconnect with people, players, coaches. It's a good time. I'm very glad that we're getting back to that part of the season where we're not just talking about amorphous stuff anymore. This is real. So.
Yell at Grubba for not wearing a coat. Just good things like that.
We saw him leave the press box without a coat. I was like, what is wrong with him? And then we proceeded to talk to him for 15 minutes while he was shaking. And I'm like, okay, we're done. Go back up and get your coat on, dude. Yeah. So, all right, that's the show. Thank you everybody for listening and or watching. We appreciate it. Like I said, leave any feedback that you may have. Share this with somebody, whether you like them or not. And otherwise, we will be back with more Hounds and Riveters content for you very, very soon.
Later.
See ya.